San Diego Energy Solutions Training and Sales Guide 6. System Output Factors. Homeowners frequently ask, am I a suitable candidate for solar? Invariably, the answer is, if you own a home and have a power bill, you are a good candidate for solar. The underlying question really is, do I get enough sunlight to make solar work? There are dozens of diverse factors that can affect systems' performance, but there are only a few that can actually make a significant impact. They are as follows. Shading is the most important factor in determining system output, and shading can have the greatest impact on a system's output. This is because shading is the only factor that can render your solar panels useless, but we will delve further into that later on. Roof orientation is the second most important factor in determining system output. Due south is the ideal facing roof for solar in the northern hemisphere. Any roof orientation can work, though due east and due west orientations can have a 10 to 20% drop in output compared to due south. The exact roof orientation is called the azimuth. Like a compass, the azimuth is expressed in degrees and is a number between 90 and 270. The azimuth is an imaginary line that is drawn perpendicular to the roof's edge. Roof pitch is a smaller factor in determining system output, though still important. The ideal pitch for solar panels is about 15 degrees in the summer and 30 degrees in the spring and fall, and 45 degrees in the winter. On average, a 30-degree pitch is ideal for solar panels. If the roof is flat, the panels can be mounted, then propped up to 30 degrees. For pitched roof installations, the panel angle will match the current pitch of the roof. Roof pitches are measured by the rise and the run of the roof's trusses. 4 and 12 is the term used if the roof truss goes up 4 feet for every 12 feet of length. This type of roof is the most common and has a resulting roof pitch of about 18.5 degrees. The effect of roof pitch has on a system performance varies based on the azimuth of the roof. For roofs facing due south, pitch will have a little effect, but for systems installed on east and west facing roofs, the pitch can have a significant impact. The solar calculator will automatically calculate how efficient the system will be depending on pitch and azimuth of the roof, and it will adjust the number of panels and cost accordingly. D-rate is the overall loss from when a ray of light hits the panel and that light is converted into usable electricity. D-rate is due to equipment inefficiencies and will be discussed at length later in this course. The summary. There are hundreds of factors that can be taken into account when determining system output. Weather, dust, shading, roof pitch, and roof orientation will all have a small individual effect on the system, but we'll look at the effects in the aggregate. We can look at the roof's pitch, roof orientation, weather, and etc., and factor in an overall average loss. Majority of installs will have a good average. Only extreme cases of shading will the output of the system be affected so much that additional losses will need to be considered, which we'll discuss in depth later in this course. Shading. Your roof could be perfectly oriented south with an ideal roof slope, but if you live in an extremely forested area right next to a mountain, your house could be so heavily shaded that your roof wouldn't receive sunlight and your panels couldn't produce power, though this would be more the exception than the rule. All homes have some shading issues, but very few have unavoidable issues that considerably impact system performance. Shading analysis. Prospective solar companies have an entire industry of dedicated experts, apps, and devices to provide shading analysis for their home. Though usually not necessary, these analyses can predict how much the array will affect by shading down to the 10th of a degree. Most of the time, a detailed analysis won't even justify adding an additional panel or taking away a panel to compensate for the shading because it's usually within a couple percentage points of the home averages. For example, if it's discovered that a home has somewhat significant shading and overall production will be reduced by a whopping 5%, it doesn't even justify adding an additional panel. What that means is instead of a target of 90% replacement with solar, this home will have a target of 85% replacement. A shading analysis is not difficult. By asking a homeowner a few questions and looking at the property from the ground, you can quickly discover shading issues and what to avoid. You can run a conservative projection based on averages for other shading factors and still have a very accurate projection of system performance. Trees. Trees are the main factor in determining whether or not a home will have shading issues. The general rule of thumb is simple. If the home has large trees near the optimal roof space, they should be removed or trimmed as to not cast shadows where the solar panels will be installed. Remember, since we are only looking at the south, west, and east facing roof, trees on the north side of the property do not typically cause shading issues. Proximity to mountains or cliffs. Though the vast majority of homes will be good candidates for solar, if a home is located next to a mountain or cliff, literally right next to a mountain or cliff, the possibility of solar might be ruled out altogether. Neighboring obstructions. Though typically insignificant factors, neighboring roofs, telephone lines, lampposts, and other structures found in a neighborhood can all affect a home's shading. In all system calculations, averages for shading loss are taken into account for these factors as well. Basic solar analysis. A shading analysis does not need to be a complicated process and can be quickly accomplished by asking two questions. Is the property so close to a mountain or cliff that sun exposure to the ideal roof space is severely impacted? If yes, the home is probably not a good candidate for solar. Are there tall trees near the home shading the prime roof space? If yes, the trees should be trimmed or removed. Weather. How does weather affect solar system performance? Solar panels are most efficient on cool, sunny days. If the weather gets too hot, panel performance can drop slightly. However, unless solar panels are completely covered in snow, they're probably producing more power than you think. Even on cloudy days, solar panels still produce some electricity. In states with extreme weather patterns, net metering comes in handy. Sunlight hours. As we learned earlier, most solar systems will overproduce in the summer months and rely on kilowatt hours credits during the winter months. Average sunlight hours could be as high as 10 hours a day during the summer, as low as 4 hours during the winter. So if there is a blizzard in December, bringing snow for an entire week, that's okay. Chances are there will be an extra sunny week during the summer that will average it out. Panel maintenance. Panels are maintenance free. It might be tempting to clear snow off your panels after a snowstorm, but the best thing to do is wait for the snow to melt off. Climbing on the roof during icy conditions is extremely dangerous, and attempts from the ground to clear snow with a broom or rake can potentially damage the panels. Remember, snowy and rainy days are taken into account in the sunlight hour calculation. Also, because solar panels are black with a metal frame, they will heat up faster than roof shingles, and snow will melt off the panels before it will melt off the rest of the roof. It's okay to spray down the panels with a hose to clean them, but this should always be done from the ground and never from the roof. Durability. Solar panels are incredibly durable. They are rated for 100 plus mile per hour winds and 3/4 of an inch hail balls and can withstand direct lightning strikes. Although solar panels are protected by a 25-year product warranty, they should be added to existing homeowner insurance policies to protect against external factors. That concludes this tutorial.